Here are some of the headlines we are featuring today from your favorite news outlets at offthepress.com. The 2024 Republican primaries are coming into focus now that the candidates for the first debate get ready to take the stage next month. Two big names are missing: Mike Pence because he lacks support, and Donald Trump because he doesn't want to play. But former aide Kellyanne Conway is hinting that the former president will join in. House Republicans are moving fast to protect your federal tax dollars from bailing out the reparations funds in liberal states like California. Overseas in Russia, they've raised the draft age from 27 to 30 because they need another 2 million soldiers for the war in Ukraine. And it looks like 6 teams are in the mix for a potential trade of baseball superstar Shohei Ohtani. The trade deadline is August 1st. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to offthepress.com.
America's Voice Live, America's fastest growing news program. With Steve Gruber.
We've got to put America first. You do that by voting and bringing your friends to do the same.
Delivering the latest news, observations, and opinions. With the entire Real America's Voice team, America's Voice Live starts now.
Welcome to America's Voice Live. I'm Steve Gruber. Today, Wednesday, July 26th. There's a lot going on, if you've not heard. So let's get to the day's top stories, shall we? And thank you for being here. Hunter Biden's plea deal today has hit, well, a brick wall that many are calling unusual. Looks like prosecutors and the defense agreed to a revised plea deal after the first one fell apart, but the judge, she's not accepting it. Congressman Greg Steube will join me to discuss that coming up. Also, we will have more on the Hunter Biden plea deal and what to expect next now that the judge has not accepted it. NPLC legal counsel Paul Kamenar will join me to help clarify this fast-moving story. And then later, a federal court ruled that the University of North Texas can charge out-of-state students more tuition than illegal aliens living right there in Texas. How is that fair? It's not. Emily Fowler will join us with a report. Like I said, a lot happening, so let's get started, shall we? All right, so Hunter Biden's sweetheart plea deal off the table, gone. And now we know that Hunter is still under investigation by the Department of Justice, and he won't be given immunity, which is what Hunter's defense team thought they would be getting when they walked into court today in Delaware. The political world was, in fact, rocked when the judge in that courtroom rejected the remarkably lenient deal that would have reduced felonies for evading paying taxes on millions of dollars into a pair of misdemeanors. And at one point during sharp questioning from Judge Mary Ellen Noriega, she asked Hunter if he knew he had not paid taxes. He simply said yes. But it was the gun charge, a felony gun charge that would carry a 10-year prison term that had been reduced basically to community service, that seems to have had a whole lot more problems for the judge, as well as potential FARA charges, meaning he did not register as a foreign agent while cashing in on millions of dollars from overseas sources, all sorts of problems. And now, Hunter Biden, with no deal left on the table, is pleading not guilty. So it looks like he'll be going to trial. We'll get into all of that today with the legal minds and a leading member of Congress who's wondering, like the rest of us, is somebody actually going to be held accountable for once? And by that, I mean a Democrat. But first, let's take a closer look at why the drums are beating louder today than at any time for Joe Biden to face impeachment from being the 46th president of the United States, and reflect on how today's earth-shattering events will also amplify problems for the White House itself. You see, with each passing day, there's more evidence of criminal activity that engulfs many members of the Biden family. Many of you are of the impression that Hunter Biden is the epicenter of this widening scandal, but my friends, that is just not the case. The focal point of the Biden corruption scandal is, and always has been, Joe Biden. He is the one that has been running the scams and the extortion routines for years. And when he finally became vice president, his drug-addled son, Hunter, and his corrupt brother, Jim, By then, they were well-trained in the art of strong-arming foreign nationals and foreign governments out of millions of dollars, and it seems every day there is more to the story and more evidence to consider. This week, we have learned that Devon Archer, Hunter's longtime friend and business partner, is ready to appear in front of Congress, and I'm guessing with today's revelations, he won't try to reschedule again. He will sing on Monday. And Miranda Devine of the New York Post, who was instrumental in breaking the original Hunter laptop story back in October of 2020, well, she again is the tip of the spear for truth. As she turns over piles of Biden manure and is discovering the truth every step of the way, and be careful where you step. And I will get to her comments in a moment, but I want to start with one of the smartest people I heard while I was growing up. A man who made his mark and his millions, making me and a whole lot of other people laugh about things like the 7 dirty words and so much more. But a man that was very good at his job because he could see the truth of government and everything else. And then he would make fun of the truth. Here's a more sober, a more honest moment from many years ago, but man, did he call it. Of course, I'm talking about George Carlin and his take on American government today. Listen to this.
The reason education sucks, it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right.
They do not want well-educated people capable of critical thinking. That's what a lot of this has been about for the last few years. Just flood the infield. Flood the zone with all sorts of nonsense and garbage and information and just bury people. They won't know what's right or wrong, which way is up. This whole thing is an illusion of self-governance unless or until we can get real people back in charge. And I'm still an optimist that believes it's possible. More today than I did this morning, I can tell you that. And we've seen it all play out after Trump was elected. Hell, even before he was elected. Who am I kidding? And what could be worse than the current president of the United States taking bribes from foreign powers and trading off his position in the United States government just for money? Is the fact that the president, Joe Biden, knew the false smears against Donald Trump, the whole Russian collusion hoax was fake. He did nothing to stop it. It all started, as you know, back when Barack Obama could have done something too. But you see, they wanted him to get smeared. They wanted Hillary in power. So did the deep state. And they allowed the deep state, the DOJ, FBI, CIA, and all the rest to run with the Russia hoax, even though they knew it was fake. As I said before, that was a coup. And if you want to talk about traitorous, that pretty much sums up the word. That is the government actively going against the will of the people and destroying political enemies using the full power of the state. Let's get back to this current scandal for just a moment. And if we're being honest, this should have disqualified Joe Biden from being president at all. But of course, the deep state, the Democrats and their media handmaidens suppress this information almost completely as well. Miranda Devine, as I mentioned earlier from the New York Post, is now predicting that Devon Archer is ready to clear his name. And after what happened today, boy, does he want to clear his name. And that's very dangerous to the Biden crime family. But listen to this.
I think that it's really Devon Archer's lawyer and the House committee have just been toing and froing about dates, you know, who's available and what time. I don't think there's anything nefarious about it. It's now scheduled. It was scheduled for this Monday, then Thursday, and now it's scheduled finally for this coming Monday, July 31st. I think it will happen, and Devon Archer is not volunteered to do this. I'm told that he's not doing this out of revenge or anything. He's just decided to comply with the request from the House committee. He's been at the centre of this story and been talked about non-stop for, 2.5 years. And I think he just wants to clear his name and tell the truth. And the truth that he has to tell is very damaging to Joe Biden, because, of course, Joe Biden's always maintained that he knew nothing about his son Hunter's overseas business dealings. And we've reported about the numerous meetings, at least a dozen of Hunter's business partners who Joe Biden met, including at a restaurant in Georgetown.
I do want to say thank you to the New York Post and for others for not rolling over and giving up. Rav has been here every step of the way as well. The trajectory of the Biden crime family has been greatly impacted now. And what I mean by that is GOP leadership is now seriously considering pursuing Joe Biden and his family for something a whole hell of a lot more serious than a couple of misdemeanors for failing to pay taxes on millions of dollars of illicit income, that is, from foreign countries. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy actually laid it out yesterday, I know, and it is looking very serious for the president. Here's the speaker.
We have a president who told the American public in October that he's never spoken to his family about any of the business. He said no one in the family had ever gotten money from China. Well, now that is proven not to be correct. We now have IRS whistleblowers come forth saying that the Justice Department used their power differently than David Weiss or Garland has said to the American public and to Congress and Senate. They also said that we all know the statute of limitations ran out for the most serious part when it comes to the Biden family on taxes. But the IRS whistleblower, who when asked questions in that hearing, said no, it was on the table to extend that so the statute of limitations wouldn't run out. And David Weiss let it go.
Well, David Weiss should not have let it go. That wouldn't happen to you or me, of course. Double standards, but no double standards in the courtroom today. Those sound like impeachable offenses to me. And Speaker McCarthy is floating that idea as well. Here it is.
So now you have the president saying one thing that we've proven is not true. You've got IRS whistleblowers saying something when it comes to government treating the Bidens different. You've got an informant claiming that the Biden family had been bribed. Should you ignore that, or you should investigate that? The only way you can investigate that is through an impeachment inquiry, so the committee would have the power to get all the documents that they would need. What I said last night, and I continue, I said it before, when more of this continues to unravel, it rises to the level of impeachment inquiry where you would have the Congress to have the power to get to all these answers. I would think the Biden family would want to answer these questions as well, provide the documents instead of holding them back. We're watching this administration use government much like Richard Nixon used by denying us to get the information that we need.
Using the government to hammer your opponents. And according to a best-selling author that has researched the Biden corruption and cataloged much of it, Speaker McCarthy is on the right path of finding evidence of a lot more criminal behavior. Peter Schweitzer lays bare the truth about Joe Biden's corruption and its depth, its width, and it runs deep. Listen.
If you look at that 1023 form that the FBI released, if that document is true, that document reveals that one of the people that was at those meetings that heard the conversations about bribing the Bidens worked for President Zelensky. Who really wants to believe, if that meeting took place and that document is accurate, that that individual did not go and report to President Zelensky what he heard? And again, if that document is true, who wants to believe that President Zelensky and his administration have not used that as leverage over Joe Biden when it comes to negotiations on Ukraine policy? We may all have to start learning the Ukrainian word for kopot, because this is a very clear indication of how this has shaped this administration's policy towards Ukraine and also towards China.
Oh, and about that changing narrative of Joe Biden's, we put together a short montage to show you just how it sounds. Listen.
I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses. I've never discussed my business or their business, my sons or daughters, and I've never discussed them. I don't discuss business with my son. I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
The answer remains the same. The president was never in business with his son.
At the end there, Karine Jean-Pierre doesn't say that the president never spoke to his son about business dealings. Now she simply says he's never been in business with his son. I think the evidence more than shows that's a lie, too, just like he lied when he said he never spoke to Hunter about business, of course. So what we are going to continue to dig out are the facts that no matter what we are told, the best advice is to always follow the money. And the money will take you to the truth about who was involved, to what capacity, and what they really did along the way to get paid and keep it secret. However, despite the bombshell testimony we're expecting on Capitol Hill next Monday from Devon Archer, the official narrative has not changed, and the messaging is exactly the same. Deny, 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 or better yet, say nothing at all. But before you get too optimistic, just think about one thing. I hate to say this, think about one thing. President Kamala Harris, sorry to do that. Coming up after the break, there have been some big developments in court today. Yeah, prosecutors and defense tried to make a plea deal and then another one. It all fell apart. Congressman Greg Steube will join me next with the latest. As we have been discussing, the plea deal with Hunter Biden exploded today in a Delaware courtroom. Means we are likely going to see a trial of the first son in the weeks to come. All of it is being called quite rare by legal experts. First, Hunter Biden's lawyers were threatened with sanctions for one of their staffers, Jessica Bengals, allegedly misrepresenting herself to the court in order to try to throw out Representative Jason Smith's amicus briefing. Smith had asked the judge, Mary Ellen Noriega, to consider the IRS whistleblower testimonies from a few days ago as she weighed the plea deal today. Court says that Bengals claimed she was part of Smith's team, part of the Republican side, but Bengals says, well, that never happened. And it was a miscommunication on part of the court. Well, we'll see. But for now, the plea deal has completely unraveled, with the judge, Noriega, rejecting a revised deal that prosecutors and defense attorneys agreed to during a long delay in the hearing this morning. It covered tax, drug, and gun crimes from 2014 through 2019. As a result, Hunter Biden's plea deal is gone. He's now entered a not guilty plea with the court, with that deal on hold. Joining me live now to discuss this, a member of the House Weaponization Subcommittee, Congressman Greg Steube. Congressman, good to see you. It's been a bit. Nice to have you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so look, this whole deal was supposed to take about 30 minutes. It was all cut and dried. Hunter Biden had a complete gift from the court and the prosecutors, it looked like. But, man, it fell apart, and it fell apart in a dramatic way, didn't it?
Yeah, thankfully we have a judge that's actually asking reasonable questions and not just going to do the will of a politicized DOJ. Just the weapons charge alone is a 10-year minimum mandatory sentence. And the only thing he was getting out of multiple different charges for tax fraud, the gun charge, was 2 years probation. If that was you or I, we'd be looking at probably decades behind bars. And thankfully, Chairman Smith sent in the whistleblower testimony as an amicus. Those whistleblowers testified that the DOJ slow-walked the charges in 2014 and 2015 so that the statute of limitation would toll on some of the most egregious tax charges, which would be felonies, so that they couldn't bring those charges. This is an absolute corrupt DOJ that's politicized, that is one standard for Democrats, a different standard for Republicans, and thankfully we had a judge that is asking some questions about, I don't see how this is a reasonable deal given the facts, the circumstances, and the evidence.
In fact, so bad, she asked both sides, the prosecution and the defense, to submit briefs going forward to establish why this deal was made in the first place. She's asking all the right questions. She asked about Hunter Biden registering as a foreign agent, which, of course, didn't happen. And that, of course, put Paul Manafort in legal jeopardy a few years ago. We know that. And she asked Hunter Biden directly, did you know you had not paid taxes? To which he said, yes. Again, if you and I had been in that position, Congressman, we would be in jail. I mean, there's just no two ways about it for that kind of money, that kind of tax evasion, right?
Yeah, we're talking the total that we know of is $2.2 million this guy didn't pay in taxes. If that was you or I or any other American for that matter, and you're right, those FARA charges weren't even brought on registering as a lobbyist or a representative of foreign entities, and that has been a crime that has been charged to Trump individuals, and they're looking at jail time and all the different things that go with that. I'm glad we're where we are, and we have a judge that's asking reasonable questions. Hopefully, the prosecution is going to realize that they're giving a sweetheart deal to the president's son, and they're going to rethink some of these charges and bring either different charges or the charges that they have brought. They'll at least go to trial on some of that, and maybe there's still chance for justice in this case.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. People are wondering now, is there actually going to be someone held accountable? And when I say that, I mean a Democrat held accountable. Is that going to happen? Because people are stunned on both sides of the aisle, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be up to this judge in this particular case, but I'll tell you that the House Republicans in the House are investigating all of these crimes. We now have evidence of crimes that Joe Biden was involved in some of these. We have what was released recently from Senator Grassley, on the form from the FBI that Joe Biden received $5 million for that deal with Burisma in Ukraine to get rid of that prosecutor. You have him bragging about that. Myself, we're working on an impeachment resolution. You now have leadership in the House that is considering that for these corruption charges. I think there's plenty of evidence. If President Biden was not president and could be charged with a crime, he would be locked up in all that. Just listen to some of the whistleblower testimony on the IRS, where the DOJ wouldn't allow them to do search warrants, wouldn't allow them to go down the road of the evidence that showed that the big guy, Joe Biden, was involved in some of these transactions.
Well, and here is the big question for everybody on the Republican side of the aisle and for some Democrats as well. Knowing what we know now, knowing that we believe that Devin Archer is going to come and testify on Monday, that not only was Joe Biden involved in those conversations, he was put on speakerphone by his son Hunter to show that, hey, we've got the clout here, we've got some muscle, we're going to get this done, send us millions of dollars. Knowing all of that now, sir, is it time for impeachment?
I believe so. We're drafting up an impeachment resolution specifically on these bribery and corruption charges. I absolutely would support that in the House. I think it's beyond time for that. I think we have beyond evidence for an impeachment inquiry, and we need to move forward with that on the House.
And what about those on the other side of the aisle? You talk to these folks. I know you do. There are people on the Democratic side you talk to. Go ahead. Tell me, is there a Democrat that will join you?
No, it's so politically polarized up here. They're trying to use and weaponize the DOJ to go after President Trump on charges that there isn't any basis for, when the current occupant of the White House is the one that should be charged, and it's all 100% political. I don't think you will see a single Democrat, if we bring that impeachment resolution to the floor, that'll break ranks with the Democrats, even though there is overwhelming evidence that he has committed various crimes, not just as vice president, but that he acted on some of that while he was president, and it's time for us to move forward on that.
Well, let me play what if a little bit then. If Devin Archer appears on Monday and testifies to the things that Miranda Devine and people in the New York Post and others are reporting, that he will say it was 24 different times that he heard or witnessed Joe Biden involved with conversations involving Hunter Biden, business dealings, and Devin Archer and all of these different companies, whether it's China, Russia, Ukraine, Romania, all of them. Is there a Democrat that you think will say, you know what, at some point you've got to say the truth is the truth. There's an election next year. The American people are finally seeing this for what it is. Do you see anybody that will cross that line?
Well, let's pray that that's the case, and there's some reasonable Democrats that are going to look at the evidence and see that it's overwhelming, that Joe Biden was involved in some of these transactions with his son Hunter, that Joe Biden received millions of dollars along with his family members and is willing to look at this from what's best for the country perspective, that you have somebody sitting in the highest office in the greatest country of the world that has committed these crimes and is willing to say, look, this isn't the type of person that should be the president of the United States.
To me, Kevin McCarthy, over the last few days, his attitude toward this has changed. I'll give you the last word on this. Do you have unanimous support? Do you think if you go forward with these articles of impeachment you're writing up, do you have unanimous support from the Republicans?
At this point, with the evidence that has come out through the different investigations, you've got the Ways and Means Committee investigating the IRS side of it. You've got the Oversight Committee investigating the transaction side of it and the financial side of it. You've got the Judiciary and the Weaponization Committee that I sit on investigating part of it. There is overwhelming evidence. I surely would hope that the entire Republican conference would support this moving forward.
All right, and give me a timetable real quickly before I let you go. A timetable on when we would see something or have something make it to the floor of the House.
Yeah, so if we file the bill this week, we go into our August recess every year. Congress recesses in August. I would think the September, October timeframe, the committee would start the impeachment inquiry process, and hopefully by the end of the year, we would be voting on it.
I would think this is more pressing than going on vacation, but hey, that's just a working American out here.
I don't disagree with you, but I don't make the schedule.
I understand, sir. Congressman, thank you for being here.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Greatly appreciated. All right, up after the break. Hunter Biden's lawyers face potential sanctions, as we mentioned, from the Delaware judge in his tax case after the attorney tried to play a dirty trick, possibly an illegal trick. More on that story that we were talking about straight ahead on America's Voice Live. As we have been discussing along with everybody else in the world, the plea deal for Hunter Biden, well, it exploded today. It was dismembered in that Delaware courtroom, and it means we're likely going to see a trial of the first son in the weeks to come. All of it is being called rare. First, Hunter Biden's lawyers were threatened with sanctions for one of their staffers, Jessica Bengals, allegedly misrepresenting herself to the court in order to try to throw out Congressman Jason Smith's amicus filing. Smith asked Judge Mary Ellen Norica to consider the IRS whistleblower testimonies, and she weighed in on the plea deal today. They wanted her to have that. The court says that Bengals claims she was part of Smith's team, but Bengals says that never happened. They put forth some affidavits anyhow. And now the plea deal has unraveled, with the judge rejecting a revised plea deal after she rejected the first one. It covered tax, drugs, gun crimes from 2014 through 2019. It's all on hold now. Joining me now is Paul Kamenar. And Paul, good to have you here. Greatly appreciate you taking the time, because we need to sort all of this out. You are the senior attorney and legal fellow for the Federalist Society, so people know where you come from. Man, things moved fast today.
The National Legal Policy Center.
National Legal Policy Center. Thank you. We thought this was going to take about 30 minutes. Hunter Biden had this sweetheart deal. He was going to waltz in. He was going to waltz out. That's not at all what happened, sir. From a legal point of view, tell us the way you were seeing this today.
Yeah, no, it really was amateur hour today. I couldn't believe what was going on there. The basic flaw that was going on here was that the defense attorney saying, look, we have a plea deal. If we plead guilty, that's it. And the prosecutor had said even before this hearing that the investigation was ongoing. And I thought that was strange at the time. And so the judge says, well, wait a minute, what am I doing here? Is this going to be one and done and we're gone? Or is there going to be more piecemeal coming before me? And the prosecutor said, no, our investigation is ongoing. Well, that's highly unusual. So then the defense attorney says, that's it, null and void, we're tearing it up, no deal. And therefore the judge says, okay, wait a minute, let's take a breather, time out, you guys get together, see if you can this discrepancy. And they tried to do it, and they thought they had another deal back, but they went back to the court. The judge said, well, wait a minute, let's look at this gun charge pretrial diversion. That's a felony charge. And you're saying that if Hunter behaves himself, he doesn't take any drugs, alcohol, no trouble, the charges will be dropped. And why are you putting that next to the tax charges? And they were having some problem explaining that. And then the real problem was where the judges say, well, wait a minute, are you telling me that if he does break his pretrial probation terms, that I'm going to be the one to decide whether you, the prosecutor, can now file the felony gun charges? And they kind of said, well, yeah, I mean, no, I'm not going to be part of the prosecutorial.
That's not my position. That's not my place in this proceeding. Right. So it all fell apart. Right. Then Hunter Biden pled not guilty to all the charges, my understanding. The gun charge, which, by the way, is a 10-year felony. And from what I understand now, there were more charges originally before this plea deal. There were 5 or 6 felonies, 5 or 6 misdemeanors, all boiled down to this sweetheart deal. Look, I wouldn't get that deal. And in fact, the rules of the IRS say if you can prove a felony, you have to charge a felony. Those are the rules of the road for the IRS. You also cannot plead down the 10-year gun crime. Those are the rules of the road. So everything that happened here, and she said, I don't even think it's constitutional, is what she was saying at another point in the conversation. I mean, this is a mess for Hunter Biden, but it's a bigger mess for Joe Biden, too, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Especially when she started talking and asking about Hunter, like, tell me where you're getting this foreign money. He goes, well, Burisma. Oh, really? Okay. And where else? Oh, I got this energy company from China. And so he wasn't paying taxes and all that money coming in. But it was, thank goodness that the judge, because our group, the National Legal Policy Center, 2 years ago, told the Justice Department to look at the FARA violations, because those are the serious violations.
And like she asked about that today.
Yeah, she sure did. And so now what she did, saying, look, this is a mess. You guys go back. I'll give you 2 weeks to come back with some more briefs and filings and see if you guys have a deal. If not, we're going to trial. We'll set the pretrial dates and so forth.
She wanted them to explain themselves. How did you arrive at these plea deals, which are completely incongruent to anything that should be in front of the court for these sorts of charges? This doesn't make sense. What I'm seeing basically is my takeaway. I'll give you the last word.
Well, that's true, but again, she says, "Look, I'm not the prosecutor here. You, Justice Department, are." But it basically says,
"All right, well, looks like we lost Paul Kemnar now. So the policy center. Leave it there for now, and a little rough weather around the country today, and that's the way that is, including here in my home studio. We appreciate Paul's input, Paul Kemnar. After the break, did you know that a Texas university can charge out-of-state Americans more than illegal aliens? Emily Fowler from Campus Reform joins me next with that. In a jaw-dropping ruling, a federal court has ruled that the University of North Texas can charge out-of-state kids higher tuition rates than illegal aliens living in Texas. Unbelievable. Issued by the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, the ruling reversed a decision made last year by a federal district judge that had prevented the school offering illegals better rates than those that come from other states legally. In 2020, the Young Conservatives of Texas filed a lawsuit against the university and alleged that the federal Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act prevented the school from providing benefits to illegal alien students not given to U.S. citizens. This is an interesting story. It's an angering story, really. So let's bring in Emily Fowler. She's back from Campus Reform so that she can lay out the details. Emily, nice to see you again.
Great to see you too, sir.
Well, let's talk about this. This makes no sense. So if somebody goes to Texas from Louisiana, right next door, legally, they will pay more money than somebody that comes from Honduras or Venezuela or Peru or wherever illegally. How does that make any sense?
Well, the short answer is that it does not. And you are completely correct. You can come from any state other than Texas and actually be charged $12,000 more annually than an illegal person who has come here illegally residing in the state of Texas. And it's really kind of heartbreaking for these students who have plan to go to this university and are willing to pay this extra fee, but then they're looking at someone who is an illegal resident, isn't even a citizen of this country, and they're getting a better deal, even though they're breaking the law.
So, all right, so the court says this is the way it is. There has to be a way that it can be legislated and corrected. Can the state of Texas, can the state lawmakers there say, wait a second, that's not what we want. We don't want illegals to come here for a better rate. Or did the colleges just say, we want to take them for that rate, and there's nothing you can do about it? How does it actually work in its application?
So yeah, what appears to be happening is the University of North Texas says, yes, we are going to go ahead and look at these illegal immigrants as in-state residents, as normal people who live in the state of Texas. And honestly, when you look at the trend of this nationally, this isn't a rare occurrence at all. Here at the Leadership Institute's Campus Reform, we have reported that at least 18 different states in the U.S. have legislation that allows them, universities in those states, to offer in-state residents who are illegal immigrants to pay in-state tuition, and out-of-state residents who are citizens of the U.S. to have to pay a higher tuition rate. So there's universities all over the nation that are doing this.
No, it's not unique to the state of Texas. It makes no sense to me, none whatsoever, because if I move to the state of Texas and want to go to college, right, and I'm not establishing residency in Texas, I pay out-of-state tuition, and some of these schools require you to pay out-of-state tuition for the next 4 years. And yet you can show up as an illegal and get a break? No wonder people are upset. I'll give you the last word.
Yes, I think it's completely understandable that people are upset. Actually, the interesting thing about this particular school is that I originally applied to the University of North Texas, but I'm from Illinois. So I didn't want to pay the out-of-state fee, so I thought, not the school for me. But it looks like what I should have done is just bought a plane ticket to Mexico, walked over the border, and then identified as an illegal immigrant, and I would have gotten $12,000 annually off my student bill. But I didn't think of that, so... Yeah,
you could have saved piles of money, Emily. I mean, come on, let's get our head in the game. What are we doing here? It's a sad story, but we have to laugh, or sometimes we're going to cry. Emily Fowler, thank you as always.
Thank you.
All right. Well done. We'll get back to the news after a quick break and a message from our sponsor, Birch Gold. As central banks in countries like China, India, and Australia have begun the transition to a digital currency, guess what? The Federal Reserve here, well, they're thinking about it as well. With a digital currency, the government could track everything you do, every purchase, every check that you get paid to you. Officials could even prohibit you from buying certain things, or even freeze or seize part or maybe even all of your money. Don't think so? Look around. These are some of the reasons concerned Americans reach out to the Birch Gold Group. They want to have a physical asset that's independent from the United States dollar. They want gold held in tax-sheltered retirement accounts. That's what they want. Learn if gold is right for you. Text America to 989898. They will send you a free information kit on gold. That's America to 989898. With an A-plus rating with a Better Business Bureau, thousands of happy customers, countless five-star reviews, Birch Gold has been helping people from the very beginning. Text America to 989898 and claim your free information kit on gold, because if a central bank digital currency becomes, well, reality, it will be nice to have some gold to depend on, wouldn't you think? Up after the break, Vladimir Putin has attempted to weaponize food in search of a decisive victory over Ukraine. The problem is that it will affect everyone. Joe Reek from My Patriot Supply joining me next with some ideas on how to prepare on America's Voice Live. in the 18-month effort of war against Ukraine, Vladimir Putin now reaching an inflection point, really. Winning the war is no longer appearing to be Putin's top priority. His own personal survival and that of his regime now seem paramount. In search of that survival, Putin has attempted to weaponize food in search of a decisive victory over Ukraine. The Kremlin now launching attacks on the food storage in Odessa and withdrawn from an agreement not to attack ships carrying grain out of the nation. It looks like Putin is willing to punish all of Europe or more in search of a win. He's willing to bring famine among some of the poorest countries in the world, many in Africa as well, just to survive. This will have an effect on world food supplies. Folks, it's time to prepare. Joe Reed from My Patriot Supply joining me now with a great idea on how to prepare your family for the possibility of food shortages. Joe, good to see you again.
Hey, thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I was surprised. Russia's shutting down the export of grain, wheat primarily, and other grains from Ukraine that go oftentimes to poor nations in Africa and elsewhere, but it affects the global supply of food. So that's a problem, isn't it?
You know, it sure does. And what it does for us here in the United States is it causes our prices of our normal groceries to increase and increase exponentially. In fact, last week when Russia pulled out of the accord and then they went further beyond that, they destroyed one of the holding facilities there in Ukraine that stores massive amounts of this wheat. Wheat experienced the largest single price increase since February of 2022. So the prices that we're going to be seeing right now, unfortunately, Steve, they're going to be going up. And again, now is the time to start taking advantage of this when we have access to the things in our warehouses. Now is the time to get prepared, because here's the thing, Steve, and this is what we try to educate all of our customers is nobody's going to come bail you out. You got to be self-sufficient and you got to do the work yourself to get prepared for you and your families. And here at My Patriot Supply, we make it very, very easy for families to do so. Right now, you can take advantage of our 3-month supply kit. This is a 3-month supply kit for one adult. It provides you over 2,000 calories per day, over 21 different meal varieties. And these meals, they're simple to prepare. You simply add it to boiling water and the dinner or your food is ready within minutes. Right now, you can take advantage of the $200 off this amazing package. This is the lowest price it's been in a very, very long time. So you got to take advantage of it so you're not caught up with the panic buying. We're seeing the panic buying going on right now because India just barely put a ban on all exports, and that's causing a major panic buy on rice, especially here in the United States. So you don't want to get trapped out there. You want to get prepared, but you got to do it today. The warning signs are coming, and they're coming even stronger now, Steve.
Yeah, it's concerning to people that are paying attention, but the problem is, Joe, a lot of people don't pay attention. They go about their lives, they block out the news. Man, if you're hearing this now, pay attention. These are serious problems. If you can't look, if my brother doesn't eat to start the day, you can't even live with the guy. I mean, and I know that's true in a lot of families. There's people that are just, you can't live with them because they're grumpy. Take food away from 2 days, 3 days. Then it becomes life or death, doesn't it?
You know, it really does. And there's a term that my wife always says that I'm getting hangry. If I skip a meal, I go hangry. But you don't want to be caught up that way. But here's the thing, though, too, is a lot of people just don't know where to start. I mean, you can go to mypatriotsupply.com. You can go to preparewithrav.com. The most important thing, Steve, is to get started today, is to get prepared. If you can't do a 3-month supply for every member of your family, well, let's start off smaller. Let's get a week supply for every member of your family. The important thing is you need to get started now, because when we start seeing these headlines of manufacturing, food processing manufacturing plants being destroyed, when we see the headlines of Russia stopping the supply of wheat leaving the Ukraine, it affects us, and it affects us very, very fast. And oftentimes, it's too late for us to start preparing. That's why it's imperative to get prepared now. Get prepared today. Every little bit helps. And I'll tell you what, Steve, the more people are prepared, the better off everybody is going to be. So you got to get started now.
Well, that's exactly right, because you won't be over trying to get your food from your neighbor or begging on the streets, because who knows what happens if things go completely sideways, Joe. That's the problem. So don't be that family. Be the family that's prepared and taking care of their own, looking out for your inner circle or yourself or whoever you need to look out for. That's the bottom line. Where can people find out more?
go to mypatriotsupply.com. You can also visit the website that we have with Real America's Voice, preparewithrav.com. You can take advantage of the $200 off right now on our most popular package, the 3-month supply. I urge everybody, every member of your household needs to have at least 3 months of food stored away. And with our 25-year shelf life, this is something that you can get, you can put it away, and you can forget about it. But you can have the peace of mind that if anything were to happen, you can rest assured that you can still provide nutritious, delicious meals for you and your family.
That's so important. Joe Reek, always appreciate you being here, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. You guys be safe, and if there's anything we can do, please let us know.
There you go. My Patriot Supply. Preparewithrav.com. Another place to go, preparewithrav.com. I'll take a break. We'll be back with your story that will remind you how wonderful America is today, plus answers to the America's Voice question of the day. Do you think Hunter Biden will see jail time, ever see jail time? Well, I don't know. What do you think about that? We'll talk about it coming up on America's Voice Live. Well, we like to talk about what makes America wonderful every single day on this program. We want to send you home with something good, something to think about. Say something positive. You know what I mean? America's still out there, my friends. It is. And if you don't believe me, take a look at this video. This happened when a tree fell and blocked the road in Alabama. Without hesitation, these good old American men jumped out of their trucks and went straight to action with the chainsaws that are in their trucks because, of course, they are. I often have a chainsaw in my truck certain times of year, but they're out there to clear a tree in just moments. So every time you think the world is going to hell in a handbasket, remember there are a whole lot of real Americans and men, toxic men there with their chainsaws and their trucks to save the day. Yeah. Cut up a tree? Yeah, you can go ahead and try that in a small town. All right, here's your America's Voice question of the day. Do you think Hunter Biden will ever see any jail time? Scott Punk. No. Elites have their own laws and rules. I don't know, Scott. Really feel like things changed today. Linda Dexter, all of the Bidens involved should but none will. Again, I'm not sure. Ronnie Cohen, I see a theme here, not in a two-tiered justice system. Shirley Wolf writes, nobody should be locked up for the rest of his life. Now, I don't know if he should be locked up for the rest of his life. Haven't seen all the charges yet or all the evidence, but if it bears it out, well, then. Scott King, maybe Facebook jail? Come on, Scott, we can do better than that. Jeffrey Hensley writes, not while daddy occupies the White House. Joe Biden could pardon his son. That'd be a political bit of suicide, but he could do it. Caroline Bridget Collins Lynch, jail? How about the cure for treason? What does she mean by that? Sharon Kessler, probably not. With all our money they rake in, they can buy anyone off. Mike Folks, nope, daddy will pardon any legal action, but one day old dad won't be around. Truth to that. And Linda Stallhut, hopefully, but sadly, his father is president. And Gail Ann writes, I highly doubt it, but still hope that justice comes to him. We'll see. All right, we'll leave it there for today. I appreciate another big day. Look, I don't know what's going to happen, but it certainly has been a big day in the news with Hunter Biden's plea deal just exploding right in his face. And it has been a very big day for Gavin Newsom and Gretchen Whitmer. They're both going, hey, maybe it's time to run for president. We'll talk about that tomorrow, and you can start your day with me on Real America's Voice. The Steve Gruber Show kicks off at 6 a.m. Monday through Friday right here. You don't want to miss it. And then join me right back here in the afternoon for America's Voice Live.